Welcome to this broadcasting service. Please note the main feature is recorded live and will begin shortly. Feel free to comment on the live broadcast or take part later in our Discord community.
Because it's the silly, stupid, fascinating, weird, wonderful. They're my people, and more often than not, they're the geeky people as well.
I mentioned Betamax. For anybody older, that's the old version of a video cassette. A video cassette is an old version of a DVD. A DVD is not set on the cloud. Hello, greetings to another episode of Faith and Geekery. At the moment, it is just me. I was expecting Becca to join, but if she's not around, then you'll just be lumbered with me for the next hour or so. But it's a pleasure to be with you. I wonder what geeky things you've been up to this week. Get your kind of thoughts and fingers typing on the comments. It will be a pleasure to hear a little bit about that. But a couple of times we've talked as hosts and with guests and with people on and off the in and out of the community sort of thing, to talk about what is faith and geekery and what does it mean to be geeky. And again, we've kind of tried to cover it, but I kind of wanted to give a little bit of an opening talk, an opening speech. So welcome to Faith and Geekery. Come all who are geeks, whether of film or of books, of board games or of roleplay, of craft or of music, of instruments or of cartoons even. Come whether you are into Star Trek or Star Wars, the list can go on and often does. Come whether you are experts or novices, with either few or with many. Come and belong and geek out and geek over hobbies and interests, sports or food. Gather around our digital campfire and share our stories and listen to others. Here we can chat, we can explore and throw in a bit of God too. Gather around and be blessed. Welcome to Faith and Geekery. Does that cover it? I'm not sure if it does or not. But anyway, I would like you to just be in touch whether you've been up to anything geeky this week, and that can cover a myriad of things is what we're trying to kind of say. I have been up to a few geeky things this week, and yeah, I thought I'd just show you at least one of them. And I should mention kind of the Discord community, which is where our kind of part of our community will share pictures and bits and pieces online. So this week, and I said this evening, I've been creating some resin coasters and resin holder, and this is for a potential project with kind of family. And so this is me just giving it a go, and this is my first attempt at so basically this is kind of bits of heather and kind of dried kind of yeah, plants dipped in resin and kind of placed into these kind of into these coaster molds. And so kind of got them off Amazon, so I'm not completely convinced by the exact kind of sizes, etc. But I'll wait to see how they turn out. And currently they are in the corner of the room, but they are obviously covered as well because that stuff stinks. So if you've been up to anything, please be in touch on our community. I'm not sure if I'm going to come on to that in a sec. Yeah, so basically in our community there has been a couple of kind of liner cuts from David. So this is kind of one that I'd kind of shared just within this last week. I think it was just before the last broadcast, and so that's a really cool one, David. And the one that I shared last week I thought was also good as well, which is lino cuts with a bit of a nod to Good Omens, which I'm very excited about. That the new series is coming out at the end of this week. So tonight is going to be about creativity and craftiness, or craftiness and creativity, and things like that. So I wonder what we've been up to. What I would like to talk about is, I couldn't talk about resin, but sorry, again, it is over in that direction. That's why I'm pointing in that way. But I've also got some little bits and pieces about lino cutting. But please do be in touch in the comments below to talk about what kind of craftiness, what geekiness have you been up to this week. And I'm just going to write it in the comments as well, because I'm fairly sure that often helps people. Oh, hello, that's not working. Oh, this is good already. Good start. There we go. Boom. For those people trying to be on Twitch, I'm not sure if it's actually working tonight, which is why I'm a little bit hectic. I've been trying to resolve it, and yet it seems to be commenting but not broadcasting, so I don't know exactly what's going on. But yeah, tonight I want to talk about lino cutting and creativity and craftiness. I was hoping that there'd be a couple of other people on, but it might be the holidays and everyone's away, so we'll just have to roll with it. But what I did want to share with you, because I think it's this geeky news segment, is about the Doctor Who's, also the Doctor's new sonic screwdriver, which has been off. This is courtesy of Doctor Who, and yeah, they've been drip feeding us. I think this is kind of a return of the Russell T Davies kind of appeal to fans and, dare I say, merchandise. And I've heard some people kind of go, oh, you know, kind of trying to make money, and you kind of go, well, actually it kind of helps them to make money by kind of making sure that they have a bigger budget and bigger and better and all that kind of stuff. But you know, and dare I say, I'm quite a fan of a sonic screwdriver or two, and so in fact there's at least one here and one over here and one over here, but I'm going to bring these two to the front because I think these are relevant, and I actually have another camera tonight. So let's see if I can bring this a little bit bigger. Yes. So we have the new sonic screwdriver, and I think that is because it's a bit of a homage to both tenths and 11ths, I think. So basically what you've got is that kind of cracked original skin on the, as if I was going to point to the slide there. So you kind of got the kind of the original cracking kind of stuff as a bit of a homage to the tenths kind of one, and then you kind of got this kind of extra bit, and so it's kind of a reworking, because on this one it flicks out, and so you can kind of see you can kind of sort of see that kind of inspiration there of kind of yeah, leaning across from one into another, and so we're getting something new-ish, but it's maybe not as yeah, maybe not completely new, because I think they're wanting to save that up for the 15th Doctor. But I do quite like on the original picture there is some nice detailing, I would say. Where is it? Yeah, there's some nice detailing on that very end bit where it kind of spins around, and I think there's kind of very tangible. What's the word? Yeah, very kind of touchy-feely, and they kind of move around, which is pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to that, seeing that, and that might be on a wish list. So yes, so looking forward to Doctor Who, and still kind of as they drip feed bits and pieces through, I'm excited about that. But yeah, tonight I want to talk about lino cutting, because that is something that I'm into, and please just get in touch if there's other kind of craftiness and bits and pieces. Again, I was hoping for somebody else to come on about crochet and stuff. Well, Becky, my other half, but she's a bit busy with her own projects at the moment and work. So I wanted to show you a few bits. In fact, let's see if I can do this. Aha! Let's do it the other way around. Bum 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 bum. Yes, there we go. So, so for me, liner cutting is something that I started doing maybe a few years ago, and it's kind of, you can start off with these kind of lino blocks like this, yeah, I mean this piece, so you can get the price tag still on it. I got it from Leeds City Centre for £4.10, and this kind of stuff is quite, yeah, it's just standard lino stuff really, yeah, it is the traditional stuff, and you kind of you've got the tools to go with this stuff. Let's just grab a little box out, and I'll show you the sort of tools that go with it. And so you kind of dig away at it, but you don't just kind of dig away willy-nilly. I would say what you do is kind of you draw your picture on a bit of paper first or something like that, or even you could do it directly onto the lino. However, you've got to keep in mind that whatever you draw directly onto here will be reversed as you print it on paper. Yeah, so you've kind of got to keep in mind that if you wanted to do one thing one way, you've got to kind of flip it to go the other way, if that makes sense. Yeah, so what we have, you kind of start off with a blank piece of paper, like many things, and start drawing otherwise. You can also get kind of tracing paper, so once you've kind of drawn the basic idea of what you want, you can then kind of place it on tracing paper and go over those same lines, and then kind of it will kind of trace it onto here. And then once you've kind of got a good kind of version of it onto here, which is a bit fiddly at times, I think it's really quite fun. Yeah, kind of, do you know what I mean? Playing with tracing paper is something that we did at primary school, and that was about it really. So it's quite nice to kind of return back to that. And then you kind of, then I think the main thing you've got to think about next is, which way around are you going to lino cut? Are you going to kind of, is the main kind of picture going to be a relief of it, of something that's cut away, or is it going to be something that is going to remain? And so I've got a few examples of the sort of lino cuts things that I've done. So that was for a birthday, Christmas present, I think, of a tortoise for the Thompsons. Shout out to the Thompsons. And basically, I tried to kind of get a photo of their tortoise and take exact shapes and get the exact pattern of the tortoise, and put a little bit of a green leaf there. And that was trying to do two different colours on there. Another project I've been doing, this is going to become a very apparent thing, by the way. I've got it's a Highland cow, and so that is kind of, that was trying to be part of a built-up scene and all this kind of stuff. If I'm honest, the colours went really rubbish, or rather, I didn't give the colours the right kind of thought behind them. I was so busy crafting and scratching away that I didn't really think about exactly what colours we're going to overlay on others. And I've actually got a version of it, and it looks rather rubbish. Where is it? I have got it somewhere. Yeah. So that's the kind of, it doesn't work, it doesn't look right, but I was glad of the detail of stuff. But that was kind of the initial, that was the first go, and let's be honest, I haven't had a second go, so it's the only go at the moment. That was kind of like a Highland cow. Guess what? Another Highland cow. However, this, on this material, has been used on something else, and this is this sort of stuff, which if this stuff is the traditional lino, this one is the soft cut printing. And you can tell just by touch, which is very helpful on a live stream, that it's much more flexible. And this stuff is much easier to deal with. It's also cheaper, but it's much easier to kind of play with, and kind of pliable and kind of cut away on. I will say about the lino kind of stuff is that it's quite dry, or it dries out quite quickly, and therefore as you try and kind of dig away at it and remove kind of layers of it, and you can see the sort of kind of the way that you kind of just chisel it out, and here for example I've gone too far and it's come away to the kind of the backing, but that's the sort of process that you do. You just kind of gently dig away. Folks, if you're watching, please do be in touch. Tell me kind of what you're been up to, kind of geek wise, what you've kind of been hobbies you've been up to over the last week, and it's always good to chat. So that is kind of the traditional lino, and again, it gets really hard and rigid, and sometimes you can just do a lot of damage because you're trying to kind of do it gently, and you can slip really quickly, and it's a bit rubbish. So you've got to be careful with that kind of old traditional stuff. Whereas this stuff, much more flexible, you can kind of, it feels more pliable, and you have a bit more freedom over it, and you can be much more, it kind of glides, your tools kind of can glide directly kind of across the stuff really easily, and so I'm much more kind of happier with that kind of cow. Still managed to make the occasional mistake and go through the whole thing, but I quite like that as a print, as a cow. I think I may actually have it around somewhere. I may bring that out later. Oh yeah. So here's just an example of the cow. I don't know whether I've seen a lot of kind of Highland cows, either in person as well as kind of in prints of various forms, and they tend to avoid the eyes. And I don't know if it's because the eye is a little bit sinister. Especially one maybe. So I might actually play around with that and have a bit of a tinker. But that's the kind of Highland cow kind of print of that. And basically, what you do is you have like a roller, and you kind of go over it, and kind of make sure it's all kind of covered what you want it to be covered, and then kind of place it on your bit of paper, and then have a good old rub down, and you kind of have another roller that you can rub down. And there are other people who kind of have a bit more intense. David, I'm sorry, I realised that you have been messaging, so I've been asking. In fact, that's just all popped up all of a sudden. It seems that I'm having difficulties tonight with technology or with signal, because various bits and pieces are not working properly. So David, all three of your comments have just come up. Very much looking forward to new Doctor Who. Yes, absolutely. Fantastic. No, that's not rubbish. It's work in progress. If you warm up the traditional lino in the I assume oven, it becomes easier to carve. Oh, fantastic, David. I might give that a go. Any temperature in particular, David? Or are you going to leave me guessing? Or just kind of, you'll see like an empty mess. But it's great to have you with us, David, and really liking your lino stuff too. So that's kind of that's my Highland cow, and that's the kind of prints. I do find that whatever kind of hobby you get into, you kind of also start to get into product about storage containers or ways in which to do this, and we started to kind of amass a number of containers. David's very low, and oven was right. Yes. Cool. So kind of like on the very low kind of setting, just to kind of warm it up. That makes a lot of sense. So what else have I got? In fact, I found my turtle. It's my tortoise one. It didn't quite work to begin with. This was the first attempt, and I'd put too much kind of ink in, and it rolled in, and therefore the detail was lost a little bit. And also I had to kind of dig away at some of the other stuff around it. I wasn't best pleased with that one. Yes. What else have we got here? To be honest, it was only a couple of Christmases ago that I got into lino cutting, and it was like a present from Becky that we kind of did some. It was like one of these kind of all-in-one kind of things from Etsy. Other online shops are available. Are they available? Yes, I'm sure they are. And so just kind of, it's just quite fun to give it a go, really. The next one I did a Christmas card, or at least tried a Christmas card. I don't know about everyone else, but kind of lino cutting for me, there's a definite kind of associated style with it. This was me trying two styles. One is my own kind of cartoon style of my drawings and otherwise and bits and pieces like that. But there's also kind of almost like an icon kind of, and I guess this is where it kind of fits into faith a little bit really, is that there's kind of, is it Northumbria community and kind of more kind of, yeah, icon-based kind of Catholics kind of stuff where you can kind of, it's much more traditional kind of form of creating stuff of an image and reproducing an image in various places. And so, yeah, obviously I think that their stuff would be more like etchings and plates and things like that, especially for kind of printing presses and things. But for me, there's quite a style kind of with this sort of stuff, and especially if you're dealing only with one colour, I think it can kind of, it really tests you to try and kind of do the right sort of right kind of stuff, the right sort of style or otherwise. Oh yeah, so I can definitely tell there's I definitely went through a phase of doing kind of lino cuts for Christmases and for friends, and I'll tell you what, I'll show you. So for my father-in-law and Claire, who were getting married this next week, they'd had some kind of, they're into cameras and photography, and so I did kind of a print of old-fashioned cameras and new cameras and all kind of cameras in between. So that was kind of a nice like print for them. And then oh, here you go. Here's the greaseproof paper that I'd been, not greaseproof paper. Oh no, that was a bit of yeah, I was using tissue paper to kind of trace over and do that kind of stuff on. Yeah, it kind of worked. There's my original of the other one too. However, then what comes next is a couple of others. My one of my dragonflies, and then oh, where is it? Got a very boring string. Where is it? I've lost it now. Oh, there it is. So I think there's two different styles of doing kind of, as I said, it depends which way around you do it. So that's my dragonfly, weird little pin through things. That's my. You'll see, I'm a bit of I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and so I give myself a hard time. But there, so this is a Christmas badger, obviously, and so you can kind of use the gaps to create the. So you cut away to create the thing on a block of something, or you can remove the rest of the block and leave what it is to print. That has still got a bit of a border. I quite like that actually in that style. But those are kind of two different styles of lino cutting. I should really put a banner on, shouldn't I, for people just kind of coming late to the party so we know what we're talking about. But yeah, let's just go there. Ching. So yeah, we're talking a bit about lino cutting tonight, about creativity and craftiness, or craftiness and creativity, or yeah, creativity and yeah. Anyway, so these kind of some of my examples of lino cutting, and I've actually lost one of my other ones actually as well, which is rather annoying, because I was going to show you. This is another one where we kind of cut away to reveal, and that was kind of a bee with a. I was trying to do like a dandelion clock up there, if you can see it just on there, with like sunflower and another sort of flower there, but just kind of doing a bee, which I quite liked really doing. But that was, again, that was quite dark, and as soon as you kind of have too much block, I found as if it was a bit losing it, which is why this was my first lino cut, and then this is the second one where, third one, where I tried to put more things in these. I just didn't want to leave so much block of one colour. I decided to put other bits in as well, really, just to kind of break up the block, or otherwise, what's the point of? I find it kind of too imposing, but I guess it raises the question of exactly what you're doing and why. I guess it's exploring those artistic questions of how much space do you need, and even when you kind of print onto a bit of paper, you're kind of challenging yourself by saying, actually, whereabouts on the paper is it? What sort of paper is it on? Is it what sort of texture and quality is it on? And so it kind of for me, it's not just about etching, kind of cutting away and working on the actual plate. It's actually about kind of what colours are you using, the positioning of it on a piece of paper, and what sort of paper. It's all those kind of additional questions, because in some respects it is just a print, but there are going to be different techniques, ways in which you can elevate it to a better standard, dare I say. So kind of liner cutting is something that I go in seasons of. I think it's actually, I tend to do it more at winter time, where we're maybe sat in front of the TV and I can kind of dig away and have a bit of a play. But I do, it's something it's still work in progress, and I think that's why I'm a bit kind of critical of it myself, of my own stuff. But then, as I said before, it kind of promotes kind of product and getting into how do you store all these things, because for me it's not just about having the lino, it's not just about the in fact, let's come away from that. It's not just about having the lino and the prints. You've got to have the all the little. Oh no! Has it? Oh no, that's few. I've got like lots of little kind of inks, and then you kind of have the and when I say I've got little inks, I mean I've got a few inks. I'm sure David has far more. And this is the person that I kind of got through from Etsy, that they were quite nice, that they just did lots of little sample pots, because again, I didn't know exactly how much I was going to get into it. But then they have your big trays and your little rollers, and these kind of I have one for the ink rolling and one for actually putting the pressure on to make sure it kind of comes through. But that's kind of so that's one tray of the inks and pencils and etching stuff, and palette knives and things like that. And then the next container that I have is of the paper, and the quality paper, like what I've said, and also the example prints of what I have done, because I think sometimes you can forget the kind of the final product, and so therefore I try to keep an example of it back. Oh, there you go. That's the oops. That was the bee, but that was my very there you go, first and second attempts at using the bee. And again, I quite liked the fact that I didn't just kind of try and put just a big intense amount of ink across all of it. I wanted that kind of almost vintage look. Again, I think I just feel that kind of lino cutting kind of lends itself to kind of vintage feel, and so I liked that kind of different texture of colour, rather than it just being one kind of blanket of colour. But you can see, so that was my very first attempt, and I just didn't get the weight right. I thought it was being a bit ridiculous. I was hearing that you had to kind of put your weight on it and kind of take a long time over it. I was thinking, surely it's ink, it's just going to be stamp sort of thing, and boy was I wrong. So that's the kind of the first attempt, and that was the second attempt. So you can see the kind of a bit more balance, but again, I was going for that kind of offset colour, but I do kind of like that even as my first print. So not only do you have kind of space to places where you have to put your ink, your rollers and all that kind of stuff, and your lino cutting tools, which I've got to remember to put away properly. I should also say actually that there are kind of various heads and bits and pieces, so it isn't just one head. You have lots of different little heads that you can put in, and some are kind of more flat blades, more scoopy blades, more kind of, and each one can kind of bring just a different sort of kind of pattern texture to the final lino kind of pad. So that's really exciting. Or not. Again, folks, please be in touch if you've been up to anything fun, geeky, or otherwise. But the other thing is, where do you kind of collect and keep this sort of stuff, the fresh stuff? But then there's also the challenge of, where do you keep all of the finished kind of stamps, the finished kind of what are they called, blocks, I guess. And what you can do is you can glue them onto a piece of board. This one actually came with the board already, and so I can just chisel, and that was quite nice. It feels a bit more robust, because what I should mention is that when you start putting kind of your ink on this kind of stuff, it starts to get a bit more flexible, and especially if you're washing the ink off at the end of the session, which I obviously haven't done this one very well, but when you start to kind of wash it, especially this traditional lino stuff, it will curl up, just like anything, like paper even. And so what you have to do is dry it all out, but also then store it all quite flat, and make sure it's all flat and kind of compressed and sturdy. So it's a bit of a challenge, I think. That lino cutting is only half the hobby, because what comes next is then trying to maintain these things as flat as they can for as long as possible. And so I have another couple of drawers and things. Yeah, that's fun. But I will be getting around to doing more kind of lino cutting at some point. So that was kind of half an hour on. Oops, I'm losing stuff still. I've got a little cow skyline there, which I need to look after, and that is actually all over the place, and I think that's because I'm misplacing it. I've misplaced it a couple of times now. In fact, and that is the original, that is the original bit of tracing paper that I did the cow on, just exploring myself. But I actually was playing around with it on the screen, actually on the lino cut itself. I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to have a bit of a play around with it, because I was bored of actually putting all the detail into I was bored a bit about putting all the detail onto one drawing and then transferring that across. I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it live and just kind of etch away on it itself, really. So that is lino cutting, and I don't know about you, but kind of for me, creativity and craft is something that allows me to stop and pause. So whether it's painting or whether it's kind of craftiness, of that kind of more, physical graft, I kind of really enjoy that time. And for me, it's about processing differently. And so kind of I'm a Methodist minister in my kind of my day job sort of thing, and it often is very kind of chatty. I'm very chatty and very kind of talkative, but very kind of reflective and talking about various things, and it's very kind of outwards and doing and being, and yeah, I kind of want to come back and just kind of just take it a bit easy and a bit quieter. And so just to be able to kind of because I'm an introvert really, so I just kind of like to be able to kind of do things inwardly, and just to be able to potter and do things and reflect and maybe watch something else on TV is good. And it just allows me to take a bit of time and focus and just quieten myself, which is, yeah, sometimes a challenge when I've got a young family at home too. So yeah, I find kind of lino cutting for me is one of those kind of rhythmic and kind of just kind of gently doing, gently creating and crafting. And there's something about jobs. I know I've been very critical tonight, but there is something about kind of the final thing and creating something that you can kind of see an end, that job satisfaction of finishing and kind of going, that is complete. I am pleased, or I'm enough pleased about it. So I think there is something there for me, is about kind of that creative process, and you know, starting off with a plain piece of lino or a plain piece of paper, and kind of gradually building up and playing around with it. So that for me is quite exciting, and again, it just helps me reflect and tap into creative juices, which is good. So I wonder what else we've been up to tonight. I don't think I'll push too long or too much. I'm aware a lot of people are on holiday and otherwise, so I might actually have an early night, unless we're going to get chatting about anything in particular. But we are going to have a month off. We're going to have all of August off for our holidays and downtime, and we're going to reconvene in September. And if I was really clever, I would have remembered what our theme is, but it may or may not change, so keep posted. If you want to keep in touch throughout August, then please do get in touch with our Discord. And if you've ever done Discord before, I was a bit dubious about it to begin with, if I'm honest. I'll try to be honest. Yeah, I was unsure about it. But actually, it's quite a nice kind of app if you've got a smartphone. Yeah, it's a way of just kind of being able to. It's like a messaging service, but like you can just log in and do it. You know, it's and you can share pictures and things without having to share your mobile number, which is why we kind of started off kind of Faith and Geekery with WhatsApp and Discord. But we found that actually people didn't really want to go on WhatsApp, because that means they would be sharing their mobile number, and so we decided to kind of knock the WhatsApp stuff on the head, because nobody was interested in it. But Discord was much more kind of active, and again, it's because you can just load it up on your phone, on your smartphone, and be part of the community there without having. You don't have to have the notifications on, and for some reason, even though I've created the group, I don't have the notifications on either, so I may also not be present on it sometimes. But it's a nice community just to share stuff. So we have the Geeks Gallery, and we have opportunities just to chat about stuff, and also promote TV series that we're into at the moment. And I've got to say that tonight I've been we've been working our way through, not tonight, but over the last couple of weeks, we've been working our way through Foundation, which is another Apple TV thing. So apologies for those who don't have Apple TV, but we're definitely kind of just we're trying to catch up. So we've done Ted Lasso, we're now doing Foundation, which has got a series 2 out, which is very clever, and I quite enjoy it, about kind of a breadth of time and kind of humanity facing kind of event crises and stuff like that, which I won't give anything else away, but I find it very intriguing to see how they deal with time and the passing of generations and things like that. I'm trying to think what else I've been doing recently. What I will mention, which I was meant to mention earlier, is the resin stuff, which I have been doing. You can tell, I mean, I don't mind saying that. I do kind of bob in and out between kind of projects and things. I think my concentration goes from one thing to another, and go, oh look, pretty, and kind of move on to the next thing and move around. But resin is an interesting one for me. Again, it's kind of making something and kind of being able to kind of make something and make a final product of something. And this is just an experiment to see if I can make these coasters, and these coasters will take a few days to dry, but it's epoxy resin, and so actually you've got to be really careful with it, because it can, if you don't have apparatus, if you don't have, so I've got like a little breathing mask and goggles and things like this, it can kind of really react to your skin and stuff like that. So I look like something off Breaking Bad. That I've kind of got goggles, I've got like the proper like respirator little kind of masky thing. I kind of have my little blue gloves on, and then so making every effort not to get it on. And I felt just this evening like Homer Simpson, because I'd kind of put it all together, I'd mixed it all up. So basically, if you don't know epoxy resin, you have like 3/4 of one, a half of one, half of the other. You mix it together, and they've got to be equally balanced, or otherwise it won't set right. It might be kind of too slippery otherwise. So you have to kind of work on exact amounts, mix it all together, mix it all up, make sure it doesn't have any air bubbles in. What I've forgotten to do on these is I just need to try and get the air bubbles out by using a flame over the top of them, which is if you know my history, always kind of like a bit of a flame to play around with, and it just kind of raises the air bubbles out, and so then that will kind of dry rock hard over a few days. What was funny though is that I went to this great effort of kind of putting the gloves on, putting the mask on, putting all this kind of stuff on, making sure that I was, kind of, you've got to keep it within a well kind of aerated area in the room, a ventilated room, and I thought I was doing really, really well, and I kind of took all my gloves off, and I thought, brilliant. I'd also took my watch off as well, and then when it kind of came to I'd wash my hands, and I just thought, I'll just put my watch back on, and I realised I'd kind of got epoxy resin on my watch, and then I was just like, oh, so now that's all over my hands, and I just felt like Homer Simpson when he kind of walks out the radioactive plant with a piece of is it plutonium or something that was kind of like stuck on his back, and I was just like, oh good, a real Homer Simpson moment there. Joy. But yeah, no, I kind of enjoy the resin. I have tried to make some dice in the past. Again, I feel as if this is something that I return back to, just like the lino cutting. It's a seasonal thing, and I'm just gently kind of exploring and doing. So on these, what I do here is this is the first time I'm just using plain resin, so it's kind of like no colouring, but you can kind of have some alcohol colours if you want to. But tonight, just this time, I've decided to keep it plain, completely blank. There's little bits of heather, different colours heather, and there is an intention to kind of grow our own sort of stuff. But for the practice, this is just kind of heather that I've bought online, but if you can just see there's slight gold in these, and so I've just got some glitter, literally just some kind of normal glitter that I've just poured over it, just gently, just to kind of lift it, just to give a bit of sparkle. So otherwise I think it would just look a bit too plain, and so we're just going to see how that goes. And so that should take maybe kind of 48 hours to dry, and I'll just kind of return back to it in a couple of days to see how it goes. And so again, it's a very kind of slow, gradual thing, and I'll see how these look at the end. And what I'm likely to also do is get some little felt sticky feet and put them on. I should also mention, by the way, that the way that these are, I've poured it in and kind of pushed these things down. Some of them have sprung up a little bit. I don't know if it's air bubbles or what, I don't know. But the intention is that once they're dry, you peel them out of the silicone, because then they won't stick to it. And so what we're looking at the moment, all of them, is it upside down. And so when you turn it the right way up, that'll be when you can kind of see the finished product. And it looks quite glossy there and liquidy, because it is liquid, obviously. But it will kind of look, and it will look slightly polished, but I can then also polish it up further with the finished kind of once it's properly hardened and polish it up. But I'm hoping that they will look quite snazzy, really. So those are kind of proper coasters with heather in them. So that is my other main kind of project that I've been up to tonight. So very quiet tonight, other than David. So I think I'm going to call it a day or an evening tonight, but last moment to kind of talk to us about what we've been up to, craftiness or otherwise. If not, I'll kind of knock it on the head, and we'll see you at the other side. So I hope you've had fun tonight. I hope it's been informative. Again, I was hoping to do a bit more kind of stuff and invite a couple of people on and talk about other things, but I think everybody has been just heading on their jolly holidays, which I don't blame them. And so I'm sure we could talk about holidays at some point and about geekiness about that. But thanks, folks, for joining in tonight. And if you're on the catch up, please send a message, leave a message either on the video or comment later. On the video, or kind of comment in Discord and things like that, and be part of that community. And so when we're kind of gathering back in September, it would be good to share some of our projects over the summer, what geekiness we've been up to. At some point, I am hoping to create a TARDIS. Whether that happens over the next month or not, I'm not sure. I do not know. But I have a project in mind. We've got a script for a Christmas play which involves a TARDIS. So it'll definitely need to be done before then. And I would like to think that I would have the time over the summer holidays to create something in the and the nice warmth to do it outside and create a full-size TARDIS over the coming weeks. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I hope you have a good summer, and it will be good to kind of catch you on the other side. So whatever you get up to, geekiness or otherwise, blessed be the geeks, and see you in September. Bye bye.